Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of Beyond This, the podcast that talks grounded spirituality for everyday use. Today, I'm going to talk about something that many people miss when it comes to manifesting. One of the things that will stand in people's way is self-limiting beliefs. It's really that simple. When you don't believe that you are deserving of something that you want in your life, then your self-limiting beliefs stand in your way. We've all done it. We are all capable of it. And today's episode is really going to help you come to terms with how self-limiting beliefs present and how to work around those self-limiting beliefs. First of all, we're going to talk about what's happening in Matilda's world and how, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky. I have been connecting with so many people lately in my group events, in my live events, in my Zoom events, in my one-on-one readings. Patreon is really kicking off, and I have a new exciting tier. It's not new, it's just a replacement of the $15 tier. I have replaced the $15 tier, which was going over, it sort of doubles down. With that tier, you get access to the coffee morning where you can ask me any spiritual or current affair questions. And on top of that, I was doing a Patreon-only Q&A podcast. And I'm like, I'm doubling down on answering questions, and a lot of them are around current political climate, etc., etc. I'm doubling down on the answers. I want to help and do something that's a little bit fun and something that I enjoy. Listen, if I wasn't a medium, I'd love to be a private investigator. So we're doing Cold Case Coven, where we are choosing cold cases. You guys are going away and doing a bit of an investigation. I'm getting on Zoom with you once a month, coming to you with the psychic information, answering questions, and you bring what's already investigated to it. This is going to be so much fun, and I am really looking forward to it. So if you're interested in joining the Cold Case Coven, check the show notes. So let's talk self-limiting beliefs. Our self-limiting beliefs are quite a few stories we tell ourselves about what we're capable of, what we deserve, and what's realistic for someone like us. And the wild thing is, most of us never choose these stories. We inherited them. So today, I want to unpack where these beliefs actually come from, how they quietly run the show in your confidence, your relationships, and even your ability to manifest. And then, more importantly, how you retrain your mind out of them. Let's start at the root. Self-limiting beliefs don't appear out of nowhere. They're usually formed really early. From a parent's offhand comment, a teacher who told you that you weren't the smart one, a moment of public embarrassment you never fully let go of. Here's the thing about a belief like that. It doesn't need to be true to become powerful. It just needs to be repeated. Repeated to yourself, in your own head, often for decades until it stops sounding like an opinion and starts sounding like a fact about who you are. And that's the trap. Once it feels like fact, you stop questioning it. You just build your whole life around it. Here's an analogy I come back to a lot. Self-limiting beliefs are like the foundations of a house. The foundations aren't the part anyone admires. Nobody stands on the street looking at a beautiful home and comments on the foundations. They comment on how big it looks, how grand it feels, what it's capable of holding. But none of that exists without the foundation underneath it, quietly deciding how big the house is, even allowed to become. Our self-concept works the same way. The adults around us, as we're growing up, parents, teachers, whoever was building alongside us, they're pouring that foundation, often without even realizing it. And I want to be really clear about something. That doesn't mean it was done on purpose. Most of the time, it's completely inadvertent. A parent who is scared for you says, I don't get your hopes up. And what gets poured into the foundation is wanting things is dangerous. A teacher compares you to someone else, and the foundation gets a little smaller, a little more cautious. Nobody's laying that foundation thinking, I'm going to build this person small, but foundation gets laid either way. And then you spend your adult life building a house on top of it, never questioning why it only ever seems to hold so much. The good news is, foundations can be underpinned. They can be widened, reinforced, rebuilt. It's harder than pouring them fresh, but it's absolutely possible. And that's really what this whole episode is about. The fear underneath it all is failure, the fear of failure. If you traced almost every self-limiting belief back far enough, you'll find fear of failure sitting underneath it. And here's the sneaky logic our mind uses to protect us. If I don't try, I can't fail. And if I can't fail, no one can judge me. It feels safe, but it's actually a cage. Because that same logic that protects you from judgment also blocks you from every single version of life where you actually go for something. The relationship, the business, the creative project, the manifestation you've been quietly hoping for. It's a closed loop. The belief creates the fear creates the avoidance, and the avoidance reinforces the belief. Around and around it goes, which is exactly why it can feel so hard to break your own. And this is how it blocks manifestation. This is where it gets really interesting for anyone who's been working on manifestation and feeling stuck. Manifestation isn't just wishful thinking. It's alignment. And you cannot align with a life you don't secretly believe you deserve. If some part of you believes you're not worthy of abundance, of love, of success, you will unconsciously sabotage it every time it gets close. Not because you're broken, because your nervous system is doing exactly what it was trained to do. Keep you inside the story that feels familiar, even when that story is small. Think about the foundation analogy again. You can manifest all the house you want on top, the career, the relationship, the version of your life you're picturing on the vision board. But if the foundation underneath was poured to hold something small, the universe isn't the thing stopping you. You are, quietly from underneath. You'll get close to the bigger life, and something in you will flinch, self-sabotage, procrastinate, or find a reason it wasn't meant to be. That's not fate. That's the foundation doing exactly what it was built to do, protecting the size it was told was safe. This is why affirmations alone so often fail people. You can stand in front of a mirror and say, I am worthy of abundance 100 times. But if the foundation underneath still believes wanting things is dangerous, or that people like you don't get to have that, the words just bounce off the surface. They never get down to where the real work needs to happen. So before we talk technique, before vision boards and affirmations, the real work is this: What do you actually believe you're allowed to have? Not what you want, what you believe you're allowed. Those are two very different questions, and the gap between them is usually exactly where you're stuck. Let's talk about rewriting the story. And it's quite empowering. A belief is not a permanent fixture. It's a story. And stories can be rewritten. Foundations can be underpinned. The first step is simply noticing the story without judging it. Not I'm broken because I believe this. Just, oh, that's the story talking. That tiny bit of distance is everything. Because the moment you can observe the belief, you're no longer fused with it. You're not the house anymore. You're the person standing back, looking at the blueprint, realizing you're allowed to redraw it. From there, it's about consciously choosing what you want to believe. Instead, then backing that new belief up with small pieces of evidence. Not one giant leap, small, repeated proof. Every time you act in line with the new story, instead of the old one, you're literally retraining your mind to trust it. Think of it like reinforcing a foundation from underneath, bit by bit, while the house is still standing. You don't need to demolish anything. You just need to keep adding support until the new belief can hold real weight. And here's something people don't expect. The old belief doesn't have to fully disappear for this to work. It might always be there, a little in the background. What changes is that it stops being the only voice in the room. You develop a second, louder voice that gets the final say. I want to share something personal here because I think it matters more than theory. Many people don't know that I actually live in chronic pain. I have osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. I'm also blind in one eye. Those are real physical limits. They're not going anywhere, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you belief makes pain disappear, because it doesn't. But within those limits, I made a decision a long time ago that I wasn't going to let them write the whole story. I grew up being reminded about the blindness in my eye because I wasn't going to be able to follow my family's footsteps into the military. I had convinced myself that that may have been what I wanted at the time, but it wasn't. I still choose to move forward. I still build. I still create. And I still show up. Not because I've transcended my limitations, but because I decided my limitations don't get the only vote. I'm not saying that erases what's genuinely hard about living with conditions or disabilities, or that belief alone rewrites someone else's reality. Everybody's limits are different, and some are much heavier than mine. What I am saying is this: within whatever your limits, and whatever your limits actually are, there is almost always more room to move than the old story gave you credit for. That's the part that's worth examining. We have to retrain our mind practically. So how do you actually do this day to day? There are a few things that work. Catch the sentence. When you hear yourself think, I could never, or that's not for someone like me, pause. That's the old belief talking, not a fact. Ask where it came from. Whose voice is that? Really? Often it's not even yours. Sometimes it's genuinely useful to picture the person whose voice it was. A parent, a teacher, and realize you're still living inside a sentence they said once, maybe even 30 years ago, probably without even remembering it. Collect small counter evidence. Every time you do the thing the old belief said you couldn't, write it down. You're building a case file against the old story. Over time, that case file gets thick enough that the old belief simply can't hold up in court anymore. Speak the new story out loud, not as a hope, as a decision. I am someone who tries. I am allowed to want more. I get to decide what I'm capable of. Widen the foundation on purpose. Every so often, deliberately do one thing that's slightly outside what the old belief says is possible for you. Not the huge, terrifying leap, just slightly outside. That's how a foundation actually gets wider, one poured layer at a time. It's amazing, and I watch this quite often on social media, where I will see somebody that's really made good with their life. A single mother that was abandoned or lacking in many parts of their life, and they've taken to social media. They've got brand deals, they've got constant financial support from brands because they've built a community. They've built that community for themselves and for their family, for their children, to have more, to be more. And they come from areas in the world that wouldn't necessarily have the opportunities that social media wouldn't afford. But what we see is other women with self-limiting beliefs commenting on social media, criticizing them because their own self-limiting beliefs won't allow them to think that they too could have had the same opportunity. They would rather criticize somebody than go outside their own self-limiting beliefs to grow and have opportunities, the same opportunities that they could have taken, but someone else became successful because they got outside of what was that self-limiting belief. We're going to talk Patreon now, and I'm going to do my Patreon shout outs. We're also going to talk about predictions and what I see coming up. Today's are spicy, so I want you to listen and remember that I'm giving you information that helps you regulate your emotions. I don't just give predictions. So our Patreon shout-outs are part of when you become a new member of Patreon. Don't forget, we have the new cold case coven starting, which I'm really excited about. $15 a month gets you newsletter, access to our community chats, access to coffee morning with me, cold case coven once a month, where we will be discussing cold cases in depth. I'm very excited about it. And I hope that you are too. Don't forget to check out the link in the show notes. Also, you get early access and discounts to all my readings. Next year's readings will be released at the end of, or sometime in December, probably the beginning of December. I'm going to release January, February, March. There is only probably about 3 readings available for for 2026. There's about 3 readings left. I have also 1 reading left for my in-person in Melbourne. The weekend, I think it's the 11th or 12th of October, but you'll have to get on my website to check it out. And on that note, I released a new website this week. It's amazing. It's clean. It's easier to navigate, and you have your journeys in there. Very, very exciting. What else have I got going on? There's all sorts of stuff. There's the Psychic Circle, which the Psychic Circle is group psychic readings, 10 people at a time. I know that it's really hard for me to get to do one-on-one readings at the moment. I book out so quickly. Thus, in August, I'm booked out for the rest of 2026. But you can join my psychic circles. They are available underneath the events tab in the in my website. Oh, I'm muttering. Okay. Patreon shout outs. Kathleen, Jessica, Fiona L, Megan, and Anna. Thank you very much for joining Patreon and welcome. Welcome. Don't forget to check out the collections. You have access to all my past work. Also, remember that all of my meditations are available to you in the meditations collections. Every meditation off of my podcasts. I'm going to jump into predictions and what I see coming in. This is one you're going to want to listen to. This is a dicey couple of weeks. I want you to pay attention. I don't want you to panic. And I want you to remember all of your ability to self-regulate. Today is Monday, the 24th of October. I'm going to give you a little bit of a reminder that I am recording this at 10 a.m. on Monday, the 24th of August. That date is important because it is still the 23rd of August across the globe. We're a bit ahead of you. I say that's important because somebody made a comment on my social media. I love you, Matilda, but you made this prediction on the same day it came out. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I didn't get cranky with them. I just explained the time difference. I will often record 2 days before my podcast is released. So I'm recording Monday morning. It goes out Tuesday afternoon, Australian time, in sort of about 48 hours after I record it. By the time I've edited it, etc., etc. So I recorded my podcast, I think it was the 28th of July. I actually recorded it 2 days before then, and I talked about Home Alone, and that was the prediction that was being commented on. Just want to remind people that there is a time difference. I will never make public a prediction that is already in the public, even if I've made it and written it down. If it's come in between when I've written it down and when I record, I'm like, nope, can't mention that. And that does happen quite often. The Home Alone one made me giggle because I literally set my podcast out on the Tuesday afternoon, obviously did my things, went to bed and woke up on the Wednesday morning, my Wednesday morning, your guys' Tuesday, to a ream of emails telling me that I had made that prediction. And it did make me giggle. I love it when that happens. Sometimes they will come in really, really fast. So let's talk about this week and next week. I want to go from today, which is the 24th of August, right the way through to the first week, maybe week and a half of September. We are in for some spicy things happening. I have been shown a number of what I want to call as natural disasters, earthquakes, massive, massive earthquakes. I am not going to be specific about location, but if you live in an earthquake area, have your go bag ready. Have your go bag ready because there will be a number of them. Yes, do I think there could be one in California? It is very, very likely, but not as big as what I am being shown in sort of Indonesia, Russia, Japan, that sort of area. You could have a bit of rocking and rolling in Canada, and I'm really drawn towards like the Golden Gate Bridge, San Diego area. That being said, I don't think that's the massive disaster that I have seen. I want to talk about a Turkey could well have an earthquake plus someone bombing them. There could be massive bombs, explosions in Iran over this weekend. So the 28th, 29th, we could see an excess of world leaders die, be unwell, be unseated. So I've been given like 3 world leaders over the coming weeks that could be, they could die under unusual circumstances, and they could even be vote of no confidence removed from where they are. That will, remember, I'm looking globally here. I do want to talk about Trump for a minute. I think he could disappear for a number of weeks and no one knows where he is. Well, obviously people know where he is, but like there starts to get questions. It could even be up to 3-4 weeks where it's like, where's Trump? We haven't seen him. What's going on? And he's either had a stroke, a heart attack, his health is under duress. That's what I want to talk about. We are going to see a glut of reactive events. Sadly, I think that in Australia here, we're going to see 1 or 2 women killed by their partners. That'll make national news here. We will see reactive or reactivity from premiers. I think the Premier of New South Wales is on his way out over the coming months, and this could be the start of his vote of no confidence. We are going to see floods in Australia. We are going to see floods and wild wind in the United States, and we are going to see floods and wild wind and mudslides in Europe and the United Kingdom. Really bizarre weather patterns, absolutely unusual for this time of year. And on top of that, we are seeing volcanoes that have been dormant erupting. I spoke about 18 months ago about this period in time where we would see the Ring of Fire activated. That is happening as I speak. We could see a nuclear plant or a dirty bomb of some sort, something that's damaged that causes activity or illness outside of that, or a threat to people outside of that area where it hits. I'm thinking more in the Middle East. I don't know why, but Pakistan and Turkey are really standing out to me as far as some form of aggression in that area. Remember your ability to come back to center. Remember how important that is. There are going to be many, many people that cannot hold their consciousness during this period of time. You walk away. You don't need to be right. You don't need to have your say. What you need to be is safe. End of, full stop. You will feel like arguing your point. There is no point in doing that because it's not going to be heard. If you think about when you're trying to logically talk to a toddler that's in that meltdown phase, this is what it's going to feel like with some adults. If you are working in the healthcare, psychology, doctor, ER, paramedic, police, be careful. Know that the arseholes are out there and they are going to push your buttons. Let's move into the meditation for this week. And hopefully this meditation is going to help with your self-limiting beliefs. This is a short meditation and you can use it any time you want to. When you feel the old story creeping back in, find a quiet moment, get comfortable, and if you can, come back to this part of the episode when you're able to close your eyes and really, really sit with it. Okay, find a comfortable position, either seated or lying down. Let your eyes close or soften your gaze downward. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it go. Long and slow through your mouth. Do that once more. Breathe in and release. I want you to picture in your mind a house. This house is you. It's your life, exactly as it stands today. Notice its shape. Notice how big or small it feels. There's no judgment here, just noticing. Now bring your awareness down beneath the house to the foundation. This is where your self-limiting beliefs live. The old stories poured in a long time ago. often by people who loved you and never meant to build you small. As you sit with that foundation, silently ask yourself, what is one belief that's been holding my house smaller than it needs to be? Don't force an answer. Just let it rise gently on its own. If something comes up, simply acknowledge it. You might say inwardly, I see you. You were poured a long time ago to keep me safe. I don't need you to keep me small anymore. Now imagine warm, golden light beginning to pour in underneath that old foundation, gently reinforcing it, widening it from below. You don't need to tear anything down. You're simply adding support, layer by layer, giving the foundation permission to hold something bigger. As that light settles in, silently repeat these words to yourself at your own pace. I am allowed to take up more space than I was told. My past does not decide the size of my future. I am safe to want more. I am safe to try. I am the one who decides what I am capable of. Sit with that last line for a moment. You are the one who decides. When you're ready, start to bring your awareness back into the room. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Take one more deep breath in and let it go. And when you open your eyes, know that the foundation is already a little wider than it was 5 minutes ago. Self-limiting beliefs feel like the truth about who you are, but they're not truth. They're just the oldest story you've been told, running on repeat. You get to write a new one, not overnight, not perfectly, but one small believed step at a time. That's it for today's episode. If this landed for you, I'd love for you to sit with one question this week. What's one belief that you've been treating as fact? That might actually be an old story. I am Matilda. This has been Beyond This, and I'll see you next time. Take care.